Swing Nation, people grooving together.
Hey, this is Rick Panganiban, and I am here from Yehoodi.com and SwingNation, and we are really pleased to have on the Skypes our friend Patrick Szmidt to talk to us about this issue that came up at the International Lindy Hop Championships this year, and we thought of no better person that we could talk to than our friend Patrick. So Patrick, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Hey, well, I'm Patrick Szmidt from France, swing dancer, teacher, videographer. I've been covering the videography for ILHC for the past 5 years, I think, and other events, pretty well known on the YouTube for Shim Sham and Big Apple tutorial.
Absolutely. So, Patrick, you are both. You're a French national, or what is your background?
Yeah, well, I have the double nationality. I'm actually French and Israeli. I lived in Israel for 6 months back in 2007, but I have the Israeli nationality.
Wow. Okay. So obviously Patrick is. We really couldn't ask for a perfect guest. He's both a dancer, videographer. He was at ILHC. He is French and Israeli, and he knows a lot of the characters who are involved in the situation. So that's basically why we had the show. So just do a quick recap for those of you who've been under a rock for the past 3 weeks and have not seen the issue. So at the International Lindy Hop Championships, there was a particular competition. It was the Pro-Am. And there was a couple, William and Irene Mauvais, who did a routine that I think by all accounts was amazing. Like, anyone who's watching it, just like that, clearly, if it doesn't win, it at least should be second or third. Like, blew everybody away. And there was no real issue at the event, if I recall, or at least I didn't hear any issue. It was later when the video was put on YouTube, which I think was like that. Did you put it that same day?
Yeah, it was online the very same day.
The very same day, and then around the same day or like the next day, people were saying, "Oh, there's a certain gesture that's being used in the routine, and that seems like the Quenelle." And then other people were like, "What's the Quenelle?" And and there was a brouhaha, and then it was gone. It was taken down. So clearly, the organizers decided that there was some controversy associated with the gesture, and they took it down, and then they soon later, maybe 2 days later, issued a statement saying that while they don't assume that the dancers had any bad intent in using the gesture, it could be seen as a particularly controversial message. So with the view of not associating that with the event, they took it down, but the dancers kept their first place win, and that was not changed. Is there any details about the general situation that I missed there, Patrick?
No, I think that's pretty much what happened. Yeah, so basically I think what happened is that, I noticed the gesture during the routine. It was done actually on like 4 different occasions, and I overheard other people actually in the crowd, like mostly obviously French people, noticing it too. And then I think what happened is that some people from New York went to the organizers to complain about it.
Okay. So now we need to get into a little bit of the background and not spend like an hour on it. So so there's a lot of meanings associated with what is called the Quenelle. My understanding is originally was a delicious dish that it is like a casserole with fish and some other like cornmeal or something that's from Lyon. Like
exactly.
It's actually a dish that you can eat still, right?
Well, it's kind of like a dumpling, like a fish dumpling that's shaped like a sausage. kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's, you know, like round and long. So that's what it is. I mean, if you go to Lyon, it's very popular. But because of the shape, obviously, you know, just the same way you can do jokes about winners. Well, that's like the, you know, that's the link. And basically, the idea is that there's this comedian, this French comedian, Yehoodi, who started using this gesture years ago. And initially, it wasn't necessarily seen as anti-Semitic, but I mean, it definitely took that way, and it's been used recently. I don't know if like you heard about that, but in France there was some big protests, both in January and more recently, and you know, like people were, you know, doing the gesture while chanting, you know, death to the Jews and Jews out of France and stuff like that. So, you know, it's pretty hard to ignore the association that's being made between the gesture and the, you know, the anti-Semitic meaning behind it.
Yeah. So again, the organizers chose to take down the video, and and so let's say that they chose to just issue a statement saying we don't associate ourselves with the message, but we're going to keep the video up, or we're going to edit the video in some way, or we're going to put a disclaimer at the end. Like, what do you think might have happened, I guess, if the video had stayed up?
So obviously here we're in a situation where we have high-profile dancers, and I mean, at the end of the day, it's very unfortunate that, you know, the gesture was in, because, you know, the routine was very nice and it had the potential of, you know, becoming a viral video, you know, like a kid and his mother dancing and stuff like that. So I think like, and that's also to be taken into account, is that if for some reason like the video got a lot of traction, then it would have gotten a lot more visibility, and, you know, and then that was another problem. The thing with editing the video was that, as I said earlier, not only like you had one at the very end, but you had also 3 in the middle of the routine. So, you know, it would have been probably a little bit weird to just like edit that part out. So, you know, it was just like, I guess, the easier thing to do for them.
So yeah, I think I agree that was probably the middle ground. There were others who were saying that actually it was not enough what they did, and actually that the Mauvais should have their first place title taken away. How would you feel about that, that they didn't do enough?
Well, you know, so that's going to be my second disclaimer, is the fact that, you know, even though I've been vocal online about this issue, and, well, I'm here speaking with you, you know, I still consider William and Irene, you know, friends. And so it's, you know, it's also hard for me because of that, because I think, well, you know, the thing is actually like William, from what they said, like didn't know that his mother would do the gesture. That was actually a dare between Thomas and Irene. So, you know, even though he apologized for it, like it wasn't really his fault to begin with. Then Irene, from what I understood, didn't know actually the meaning, didn't know the controversy about this whole thing, which is totally understandable. Like that's completely possible, just because the association, like the strong anti-Semitic association between the Quenelle, with the Quenelle, is fairly recent. Even though, you know, like I mean, it's, you know, you can still trace that back to a few years, but you know, she's been away from France. Actually, like she's been living in Quebec for a few years, and you know, unless you're a fan of Dieudonné, or you're actually a potential, victim of his attacks, I mean, there's no reason to, to necessarily know about it. There's been a lot of high-profile cases with, like football players and artists that got burnt because of the gesture, and like having to go through public apologies about it. Irene, most likely, and from what she said, didn't know about the whole controversy. And William was not even aware that she did it to begin with. So I think that, it would have been probably a bit harsh to actually, ask them, well, not give them the first place, or, ask them to return the prize and stuff like that, I think.
Wow. I didn't know a lot of what you just said. That's actually really interesting context. So yeah, it's a complex world that we live in. You're not stuck in your own little town necessarily, because anything you do could potentially be broadcast out there. But definitely when you're at the international level, if you're at these huge events, if you're at Harang, if you're at the ILHC, if you're at the European Swing Dance Championships or whatever, the assumption is lots and lots of people will see what you're doing. So you do need to be thinking about that, not just the people in the room, but also how it will be seen globally, which is both good and bad, I guess, right? So, and a lot of that is really your fault. because you're at a lot of these things and you're the one who propagates it. So,
sorry.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Patrick. This was really, really helpful for me personally, and I think for a lot of our audience. And of course, we look forward to seeing you and Natasha, although you might be busy in the near future. We hope to keep seeing you at these events and working with you. And thanks so much for what you do to really, seriously, thanks so much for what you do to keep propagating the dance to new audiences, both online and in person. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
All around the planet, gates are in the groove. Don't have to understand it, you just have to move. Truck on down, pimp your stroll, put some jelly on that roll. Swing Nation, people grooving together.